done. So, share this in a minute. And then go from there. Let's see, Discord. Hopefully we'll have people jump on. I can only stay for a certain amount of time today. As I said before, we have reunion today. So when husband comes to get me, we're gonna need to end. So what I'm doing right now is I'm actually sharing it to the different places. Okay, now I don't know if display capture will show. Okay, it is kind of. I had someone asking how I can tell what you guys are saying, and so that's what I'm showing. Sorry about the echo. So that's what you can only kind of see it. So I can see the rest off to the side over here that you guys aren't able to see as much. I actually have about so the this writing screen only takes up about 3/4 of the page, and then over on the other fourth I have a bar. Let me see, maybe I can just for a minute Let's see if I can pull this bar over to let you see what's in the bar. And then we'll adjust it later. So I have this bar over here that has the stream chat in. See if it's even showing you. Or if as I pulled it over, it just still, it doesn't look like it wants to show you. But basically, I have a bar over there with stream chat in that takes up about a fourth of the page. And so I can actually watch the chat while I'm doing my story. And the same is true of when I'm doing my art, because I have this bar over here that shows me what the chat's saying. So, and the only time it doesn't is when I have to switch over, or is when I switch over to look at my stream. Let's switch to this one now. Try that in just a minute. And of course it wants me to pull it back open. Yes, I do want to remove that one. I want to add a window capture. This is the hard part, and this is what I usually have to do before each stream. So you can kind of see in the background we have that, but I can actually see more than it's showing there. So open that up, and this is what I usually. That's cool, Steph. Well, I hope you get your school shopping done. I'm assuming for your daughter, or is it your grandkids that are a bit older too? Not Sam's, but the other grandkids. I want to check something clear up here. Your oldest grandkid. Okay. So more than one person, that takes a little bit longer. Hi, Kid Asma. Did you see what I showed earlier? If not, you can go back in the stream, watch just the first little bit, and you'll see what I have. Okay. I'm going to add a little note for myself down here because I don't want to. Orca Jade, thank you for joining. I get it. Oh, Steph, are you still here? I have a question. Brought about by what Orca said. I was said Steph. No, I'm okay. Steph, not Kid Casbah, but cool. Everyone else is commenting. I think Steph's busy shopping and so may not be hearing me. So, in my mind right now, he's annoying, but he was raised with parents who still very much have that old mindset. And he's not been exposed to the world. And so And so, part of it is helping him see that, is my thoughts. And I will admit, part of your thing is, I think part of it is also you see very much of Draco Malfoy in him. And right now, I do think he's very much like Draco Malfoy. He was raised with that same mentality and everything else, that you're better than everyone and everything else. So I'm giving hints to that. But I also want to show how that belief can change many times, can be changed by getting to know someone. And especially as other people around you, as you become more surrounded with people who don't hold those same views, it becomes harder and harder to hold those same views as they interact more. So right now, some of Slytherin still holds those views, but you've got to think that Harry's son, Albus, is in Slytherin. And honestly, in my mind, if Albus knew this was happening, Albus would be upset about it. And so would some of the other. Draco's son would be upset. A few other things like that. Exactly. I kind of want to show that as you take the time. So I'm thinking down the road, he may be struggling in a class and he may go to Albus or someone else, maybe even Draco's son, and say, hey, I need help, or whatever. Break down to like Draco's son, thinking he'll have that support, or they'll overhear him or something, and they'll push him to go to group. And he'll go in thinking he's going to be obviously treated like crap because he's a Slytherin and everyone else isn't. And then he'll find that, Amy, who he's been treating like crap from the very first, welcomes him in and helps him learn whatever it is he's struggling with. And very possibly it'll be the history of magic, because he hasn't, in my mind, he has not attended group at all. So he spent all last weekend struggling with his classes. He's going to spend all this weekend struggling with his classes. Everyone else is out having fun because they're spending their free time in group, working together, helping each other. And so honestly, part of it, I see he's getting grumpier and grumpier because he's starting to see all his free time spent trying to study this stuff. And I could almost even see that him blowing up at people in Slytherin as they go out to play. How can you have time to play? And it being some of those that are attending group. and just complaining about the teachers and everyone else. And they say, listen, this is how we have time, is we're all in there helping and teaching each other. You need to start, or if you want to have this time, come start joining in. And he complains about, but what can I learn from mudbloods and whatever else? And they're able to say, well, it's up to you, but it couldn't hurt to at least go and see, or something like that'll happen. And basically he goes in, Amy is open-minded, as she always is, and he starts seeing that they aren't trying to say they're better than him, even though he can see that in many of the he's already seen in many of the classes it's so easy for her, and he's worried about the way his family will act because he's supposed to have so many more skills than her. And so he's trying to put her down in the classes that she isn't good in so much that that the classes she is good in, she becomes worse in, so that he can be better than her, because he's been raised that he's one of the few purebloods left. And that, so he should be pure blood. So he should be better than them all. And yet he's struggling in some of the classes and everything, and so many others are, in his mind, breezing through. How come his pure blood isn't doing this? So he's already doubting himself. And some people, when they doubt themselves, take it out on others, and while others ask for help. And so kind of that idea of that's going on now. And then maybe even down the road, he finds out, on top of it, she's a werewolf that he's been brought to hate his whole life, raised to hate. But after he already sees her skills and how much she's assisted him, and he starts to see that maybe the things he's been taught are not necessarily always true. And that sometimes we have to make our own, to learn and ask questions. Why were those things taught? And whatever else. And that's when part of what he learns in History of Magic will actually come out, because he'll learn that many of the purebloods, per se, were not actually purebloods. Yes, they descended from magic, from people who were born, and they carried that name, but many times that pure blood actually didn't start until World War II, I think it was. Well, and so that idea, and then throw on top of it the fact that when the ministry clamped down on everything, after World War II, is actually when a lot of people claimed that pure blood right. So it's kind of like, to use an analogy, a lot of people in Utah at one point started claiming to have descended from some of the major pioneers in Utah, even if they didn't. Actually, some people had more wives attributed to them than they really had. Like, some of the men that practiced polygamy, and I'm not saying that they didn't, but there was a point in time, and it still kind of holds true, where they actually were credited to have more wives than they had when they were alive. And as people are actually doing the looking through the family records closer, looking for who had marriage license, or looking for the marriages, the actual marriages, checking out the genealogy, DNA is helping with this, things like that, it's being found that that isn't really what happened. Some of the things found out is, okay, some of Brigham Young's wives, actually, he never consummated, from what we can tell, with, and he took them on after their husbands died so that he could care for their kids. And as soon as they were married, he sent them off to a distant farm, and they never spend a night together. But because it was one of his wives, he could provide for them. Different things like that. So that kind of type of idea, but where it was, and then after, honestly, after it became illegal, a lot of people then started saying they weren't related to that group of people, even if they were. So ones who lived places where it was looked down on would hide the fact that that had happened. And so some of them may, that idea of rewriting history, basically. And so that's really what I think, the way, and JKR even hints at it with Malfoy's. Let's see if I can pull it up. Okay, the Malfoy family is one of the sacred whatever, which we know about. Pure-blooded, there's 28. They supported Lord Voldemort and the Death Eaters. They integrated with Muggles. Yeah, in a way, but yeah. So there is evidence to suggest that the first Lucius Malfoy was an unsuccessful aspirant to the hand of Elizabeth I. And that the reason the Queen refused to get married was a jinx put on her by that Malfoy. And they do have many a half-blood. And we know those, so we know the. I need to look at the 28th, I believe. But that kind of shows you. We do know even the Malfoys, who were some of the major, the most well known sacred 28. Okay, so of this, we know the Black family's gone. The Malfoy family only has one left. The Gaunts are gone. So you're down to 25. So Ollivanders actually aren't one, and the Potters aren't listed. The Weasleys say they definitely have Muggle ancestry. The Crouch and Gaunt are extinct. So is Plax now. Okay, I guess they're counting Edward Lupin as that, but Lestranges are gone. And the Abbotts are gone. So you go through that list and you start taking out numerous ones of them. You kind of start to see. And his name isn't on the list, but yeah, as we look through it, we could figure out where, you know, anyway. But that same type of idea, and then showing him that his name is, they even, and the way I see it, he's raised with that belief. Yeah, exactly. And the way I see it, he's raised with that belief, and then all of a sudden, and then as he's starting to waver, he's shown the list of the list, and realizes his name isn't even on there. And so, wait a minute. And I see it as being, and he remembers, but the list he was shown included his name. And so he asks what, he finally opens up to Amy and asks why, and they find out that just like the Potters, who had a lot of pure blood in them, they were not included in the list because at one point they were four, and they realized, and then to protect themselves, and they kind of did what they kind of, someone in his ancestry had gone along the line of what tried to copy Malfoy. And well, I can write this out and become part of it without a problem. And we can eventually put our list as the correct list instead of, and you know, and the list he was showed, I could see having having some of the others, excluding the Weasleys, excluding some of, etc. And I really, in my mind, in their list would also not have the Gaunts in it because of the way the Gaunts started to act. So they leave out the Weasleys, they leave out the Gaunts, they maybe add in some others. And they have a bigger list. I can see it being a much bigger list so that they're able to keep that, so that it's harder to keep track of who is pureblood and who isn't, so that they can slip in some mudbloods in there here and there, and no one will know. So they keep the problems, basically kind of what the Malfoys did, but a bigger list. But then as he starts looking at it and seeing, he realizes, wait a minute, this is, and Amy also goes through with him what happened to the kings and queens of England and things like that, and how it's how some, asking about Dumbledore. Maybe Dumbledore's on his list. I don't know right now, but Yeah. So Grindelwald, Grindelwald should be on there. So that's another thing is I see their list including names from America, names from France, names from all over the world rather than just British names, which also is why they're able to slip in a Muggle person here and there, a Muggle born here and there, is because the list encompasses the world and not just that country, not just one country. So, and I kind of the way I see it is they kind of, while he was born in Britain, he's lived throughout the world or he's lived in a few other places, but very remote. So he hasn't had much interaction. Kind of exactly. And kind of the way I see it is they realize the issues with Voldemort, his parents, or his grandparents, probably his grandparents, and took his so his grandparents, at least his father's parents, took his father out of the country during all this going on, everything with Voldemort. Probably or likely seeing a repeat of what happened with Grindelwald. And so they took him out of the country, whether they actually fought or, whatever. But they could be, I'm not going to say how his father was raised. And it's very possible his mother is one of these 28 that has this extended list, and he's actually, that name is on one of the other lists. But basically, yeah, basically that idea. Because I think you hear Crumb say that he's a pureblood. I think Crumb, in fact, I think if I remember right, those who attend Durmstrang, every one of them have to be pureblood. We need to go soon, Brett. Do we need to go soon? So I need enough time to make sure I have a couple of things together and to finish my. So about, I should get ready in about 15 minutes. Okay. Love you. Okay. Love you. Bye. And that could be. We're gonna, that's some of what we will probably get into in a little while. In fact, let's actually look up Durmstrang and. Yeah, Durmstrang will not admit Muggleborns. Four stories tall. And we see even here that they used that they did have connections. They immediately sat with the Slytherins with no hesitation. So you know that there would have been some cross there. kind of shows you how George could be full-blooded and yet not on the list of the 28 from Britain, and how he could have access to a different list. But I still think that it gets his attention as he looks over the list and realizes some of the things that have happened there and whatever else. And that's it. There is a lot of history, and I think, and that's what makes the books work. And so for this book to work, we have to live within that history. But on top of that there being a lot of history, there's a lot of unknown. Let me show you. Not houses. So here's a whole bunch of smaller ones. So you see there, we don't have very much on this one. And as you read the others, you can see the very same thing. And I could see actually maybe even he's from here. Like his parents attended this one. And this issue here, they decided they better send their kid to Hogwarts. Like that upset his mother to where they sent their kid to Hogwarts. I don't know. We'll see. But we know there are 11 major schools and smaller schools that come and go. And she may even become an exchange student for a little while. We'll see. So I can see Amy having maybe in her second year, especially because they go more online. Because, well, what happens in 2019? Having them all given more choices of schools to attend, and especially with Amy's standing in the world, she may have that be given some options to attend some of these other schools, and we actually may see her debating on where she should go. and where she, you can't remember. Okay. Do I need to remind you anymore? So there's going to have to be a change in March so that any Muggleborns, anyone who is known by Muggles, they appear to be at home. We're in September and this is in March. And yes, it's been that long already. It's been over a year since schools were shuttered. So we're getting ready to start Amy's, not in the book, but in real life, Amy's 3rd year of school is about to start. It will start in about a month and a half. Okay, I am going to need to see who we are going to raid. I know it's been a shorter stream than we usually do for a writing stream. The problem I have being that we have to get going to the reunion. Looks like we have a blue Skittle or Jess. Possibly Tammy. I'm just checking a couple places out. And I may go live tomorrow. My son hasn't decided if we're picking him up. I may not, because we may not need to come home. So it's just going to literally be play it by ear tomorrow. So if we come home, then yeah. What would you like to, where would we, it looks like we have, oh, you know what? We have someone live today that is not, that you guys have not met, I don't believe. Well, let me change that. Kid Kazma has met them, but I don't think everyone else has. So let's go raid them. New peoples! They are crocheting. Think it was last night or the night before Kid Kazma raided them. Or someone Kid Kazma raided them. I can't remember which. But I think you will enjoy them. So we will go raid Paradragio. And I will see you tomorrow.